I think what you're going to find is that most cities, towns, municipalities don't have the resources, they don't have the funding to adequately protect all the areas that they have exposure to. You're going to find that it's not just a major source of funding, it's also the smaller, every program, every department that exists has exposure from both a revenue side and an expense side. And there's just no internal controls at the lowest level. Take any particular department and they may have programs in that department, and there may even be activities and programs below those programs. Take, for example, a park and recreation department. They may run all the sporting programs in town. They may run the swimming program. All of those programs charge fees. They all have expenses, but internal controls don't reach down to that level. And a lot of the things that happen in these cities and towns start at that level. Somebody stealing or embezzling the swing fees. There's no internal controls, there's no oversight. And is it material to the town? Well, sometimes it leads to bigger issues, and sometimes it's its own issue in and of itself. But I can say that the amounts that we're seeing in these programs are becoming more and more staggering. I haven't seen a city or town that I've interacted with to date that has undertaken that risk assessment, that has proactively said, we're going to take a step back, we're going to look at where are our exposures, what do we do as a town, what are all the programs that we run, what are all the departments that we have, where are our major risks, where are our lesser risks, and then how are we going to address those major risks. I have never run into that. Typically what I run into is we have an external auditor that comes in once a year. They're supposed to talk to us about internal controls and what we have in place, base their audit upon that. And every year we get a clean bill of health that our controls are good and that our risks are being properly addressed. And I find it ironic because I'm having that discussion because there was a problem, and we don't audit towns, cities, and municipalities, so obviously other firms did. And yet, if they did, then there likely wouldn't be a need for me to be there in the first place. So something obviously didn't work in that process. And what we find is some firms do it better than others, but by and large, towns, cities, municipalities are over-reliant and almost blind trust on their external auditors that that's a responsibility they have. And that's not something that we internalize and do. That's something that they bring to the table. And that's absolutely wrong. I mean, and that's where I come in to educate the city, the town, that they do have a role. Top 3 things that a town or a city should do to address the risk for fraud. 1, they should build awareness. So everybody that works for that city and town should know they have a role in internal controls, that the town or city has 0 tolerance for fraud, and they should be educated. What is allowed, what isn't allowed, what is fraud, what isn't fraud, and that they have a duty. They have a duty of loyalty to the town to, if they see something, say something. They have to report it. That is their duty. All right. So building awareness, building education, critical. All right. I hear that all the time. Well, I knew something was going on, but I didn't know who I was supposed to tell it to. So in addition to educating them as to what is and isn't allowed and what we will tolerate, and that we have a 0 tolerance for fraud, we need to educate them. We need to tell them not only that they have a duty, but when they have information, how do they get that to somebody? Who do they get that to?